In this illustrious room, we have more than 100 years of experience covering baseball. And I'm not going to speak for all of us, but just myself saying I saw the worst play that I have ever seen between the Chicago Cubs and the Pittsburgh Pirates. And we are going to break it down in all of its glory. In your lower right-hand corner, Jesse Rogers. In your upper left-hand corner, Tim Kurkjian. And joined by the man, the myth, the legend himself, John Sciambi, here on Baseball Tonight Extra. Boog, I think we should start with you because you actually had the pleasure, the joy of calling the play in which Javier Baez retreats from first base and all hell breaks loose. From your perspective, in that moment, what did it look like?
Well, you got to call it the worst best play, right? It's the worst best play ever. It's the most worst best play ever. It was wild. I mean, first of all, you have a guy in a rundown between home plate and first, which I've never seen. You know, the next time somebody says to you, well, you can't steal first base, wrong. And then in terms of the play, the one added part of it, and you can hear it in the call, sorry to go there right away, but we're at Wrigley Field. We can't see it. So I can't see Contreras coming. He just appears. So when he slides across, you hear me say, oh, my goodness. And then I know I have to wait to say they stole a run until Javi touches ahead of force. But it's just – people ask me when I got this job, what are you most looking forward to? That. That's the type of stuff that he brings that no other player brings, and it was just delightful. We were giggling, and I mean, it was really poorly executed, but it was Javi. Period.
Here's the thing: we're giggling about it 24 hours later.
Yeah.
We are going to be giggling about it 24 days from now. We are going to be giggling about it 24 years from now because Tim Kurkjian. I love sitting in the Baseball Tonight green room with you and hearing you lament just how bad baseball has gotten sometimes. And I don't know, you've been doing this for 40 plus years. Can you remember a play as dumb as what the Pittsburgh Pirates did on this particular one?
No, that's the stupidest play I've ever seen. We are giggling about it so we don't cry about it because that was a major league game yesterday. Boog said it right. There was a rundown between home and first. Will Craig, all he had to do was touch Javi Baez or touch the bag, and it's a force out and the inning's over. It doesn't matter who else is running the bases there until Javi Baez successfully reaches first base. Nothing else matters. And they let him reach first base. Will Craig was so confused. He shoveled the ball to the catcher thinking, well, I got to get this guy out. I got to get somebody out. All you have to do is tag him. All you have to do is throw it to first. It's unbelievable to me that this could happen on a major league level. And sorry, the players are bigger, stronger, faster, and better than ever. And I'm sorry, they have less of an idea how to play the game than any time that I have covered. And yesterday was the perfect example.
And Jeff, I think one of my favorite things happened after the game when Derek Shelton said, this will never happen on my watch again. I guarantee it. It's something I remember saying to my son's 10-year-old Little League team after one of these crazy plays. This will never happen again while I'm coaching you guys. The fact that you think it's never going to happen again. Now, I've watched basically every game Javi Baez has played in his career. He does this so often and gets away with it. Like Chris Bryant probably grades out as a better base runner. But this guy scares the heck out of defenses. He forces them into making errors like I've never seen. Wilson Contreras should get some credit, Boog. You're right, because he's not always known as a great base runner. But what the heck? Let's just keep going and throw a wrench into this whole thing because there's no doubt Will Craig panicked when he saw Contreras motoring towards home. Incredible.
And one of the interesting things to me here is the way that base running has, I'm not going to say that it's been phased out of the game, but it hasn't been prioritized in the way that the bunt does not exist anymore because it is a negative play. This, I think, proves that in the moment, people are capable of making completely irrational, ridiculous, awful decisions because the moment gets too big for them. It's not just Will Craig.
Yeah.
Will Craig's the greatest culprit of bad baseball here. But first base is wide open, and Adam Frazier, the second baseman, does not slide over. All he had to do was get over to first base, and the throw from the catcher gets Javi Baez out. After Javi's sitting there going safe, he says to himself, "Oh God, now I got to run and get to first base." All they had to do after that whole thing, and the umpire going like that, the umpire shouldn't have said safe because he was not technically safe, even though he slid under the tag. I mean, the whole thing was just a clown show of ridiculous proportions, Boog, and I loved it.
So a couple of things I would say. I'll steal Timmy's path for a second. This is why we love the sport. There just isn't this version of a play in football and basketball. There just isn't something like this in those sports that we're giggling about the next day and in the realm of I've never seen that before. The other thing I would posit is this. I disagree with Tim in terms of this as evidence of today's players not knowing how to play. I think that in the moment, generationally, it could happen to anyone. And I would dovetail off of what Jeff said. I think this is just my opinion, if you gave the Pirates a written test there on what the rule is, I think a good chunk of them would pass. In the moment, all of a sudden, this guy starts backing up and you panic and you blank and you fail at it. And I think that guys of any generation are capable of doing that. I do. So I think that there's a part of this where you could say it is an unforced error, but I think that Baez is participating in some way in making Will Craig panic when it's just like, hey, just backpedal. Just keep backpedaling. It's safe back there. Go step on the base. Everything will be fine. Stop running after him. Go back that way. Go back that way. But it was incredible to watch.
Boog, I tend to agree with you. However, Derek Shelton did say we need to know the rule. That kind of throws your team under the bus worse than if he had said, oh, I think Craig just panicked a little in the moment. That makes more sense to me. But he actually said we need to know the rule. Now, again, I think you're right. In a more calmer moment, they probably do know the rule. But that's not what Shelton said. I thought that was interesting.
But that's kind of the point of the game. The game is moving quickly. And to be a major league player, you are paid to think quickly and in moments like that. And the Pirates did not think. And Jeff, you're right. This happens all the time. I mean, remember the Gleyber Torres run around the bases. That was brilliant what Gleyber Torres did. I'm giving him credit for that, but what were the Astros doing on that play? How could no one be at third base? How could no one be at home plate to guard those two bases? This is my point: is our players have to be smarter than this on a defensive end and on the base running end. And Javi Baez made a really good move yesterday, and he said, "Well, I'm going to run back home in case somebody falls for this," and then they did. They fell for it.
I think the answer to Tim's question about the Gleyber Torres, for example, is for 100 years, a third baseman was at third, and that's all he had to do, right? Now he's starting in right field, right, for a position, and then he moves over, and then with two strikes, you move over here, and all of a sudden, they're not used to Timmy thinking we have to move after the ball is hit in a different way than we ever have.
I would add that it's completely anecdotal to imply that players of past generations didn't make boneheaded plays or didn't misthink or make poor choices in the moment. Like it happens. It's happened every decade. It's like the beginning of John Miller's book where he has the quote that says the problem with players today is that they're overpaid and they lack the fundamentals. And it's from Ty Cobb.
I mean, there is quite literally something that's about 100 years old now called Merkel's boner. So, players have been
coming after you, Kurkjian.
Players have been.
I just wrote 6,000 words on bad base running in the big leagues. 6,000 words. I asked Buck Showalter, I said, I'm writing a story about bad base running. He goes, that's going to be a long story. And it is because there are so many examples. Look, I'm just saying it doesn't follow. If they're bigger, stronger, faster, and better than ever, they should play the game better than it's ever been played. And I simply don't think that's the case.
Anything that gets Tim Kurkjian's voice to go up multiple octaves makes me feel like it was a great day and a great play. So thank you, Javier Baez. Thank you, Will Craig, Adam Frazier. Thank you, Pittsburgh Pirates, for being yourselves. And thank you, Jesse Rogers, John Sciambi, and Tim Kurkjian for joining us on Baseball Tonight Extra. We'll be back Monday. Everyone have a great holiday weekend.